Alright, so it's the Quinn era, the jungle tier list in the Quinn era. First things first, I gotta explain one of the trends that's going on right now. So, Season 2 was pretty much all the defensive support type junglers, Nautilus and Maokai, that kind of stuff. They protected the team, they had initiations too, there were some wonky ones at times, and there were the big beefy tanks, but they were more they could initiate fights, but they were more centered around lower damage, more CC kind of thing. Right now, it's starting to deviate into the whole offensive support junglers. They also have initiation powers. They also have some forms of crowd control, which is some of it is just kind of the most weirdest kind of things, like the most unusual. But they also have high damage and are more centered around killing people and are hopefully finishing a fight very quickly. Like Maokai and what's his face Nautilus are great at prolonged fights, but right now the junglers like Jarvan and Xin Zhao are really great at just destroying somebody really, really quickly. A hard engaged team basically is kind of what you want right now, which is why some champions like Xerath are actually being played more. Anybody who can hard engage on something that just completely, blast somebody to oblivion is really good right now. And as junglers, same thing too. Again, this is why the top three jungle bruisers are V, Xin Zhao, and Jarvan in no specific order. You pretty much grab somebody, annihilate them, or get them killed really quickly, and that's how it goes. Or they themselves can kill the target. There we go. So, with that understood, remember that this is not a tier list that dictates picks, though in recent consideration, some of the quote unquote meta changes are starting to settle, and some of the clear cut best junglers for the season 3 are becoming more apparent, and certain junglers are being raised up as a result. So the if they're good jungle picks, it's being taken into consideration slightly. It's not the predominant factor, which is why you will see certain junglers you never actually see in games be high up, because they're still naturally godlike junglers, just not godlike picks right now. So, and I hope this isn't taken as, oh, Stonewall's just playing favorites because Jarvan's his man. No, Jarvan right now is probably the best jungler in the game, both as a pick and as, well, one of the best picks, and as just jungle throughout. And why do I say that? Well, he can use, he still has all his great things from Season 2. His above average clearing, there's junglers with godlike clearing and all that stuff. His sustain is average, and he doesn't take that much damage. His resilience is actually pretty good for a jungler like of his type, the bruisers that can also fight. His dueling became better simply because of the nature of items, but that's a whole different story. His build is still his build options are still amongst the best of the junglers, and right now that's kind of a very attractive aspect, considering considering builds are kind of have to be shaped within the game as you play it, as you find out the enemy strategy and whatever. And Jarvan's always been good at that, and Jarvan's excelled at being able to take auras right now too. So like items like Locket and Bulwark are godlike, especially the Bulwark. That thing's broken, and Jarvan is at home when building items like that. And he also already gives his team auras and whatever. He can be your team's aura whore, and he does a good job at that. Still dealing respectable damage and still having all his forms of CC and initiation. And that's one very, very important thing. Right now, any jungler that can initiate in some way, and it isn't completely half-assed, is infinitely more valuable than a lot of other junglers. And it doesn't have to be one of those, hard engaged, decimate everybody kind of things. Well, actually, it has to be a hard engage, but it doesn't be one that decimates everybody. It has to be a certain one that grab guy, he dies, it's a 5v4 now kind of thing, and then survive the upcoming attack. And in a way, the jungler can still protect his teammates by, having the auras. Like, I'm not there peeling for you because it's just initiated, but I'm helping you in spirit. Hopefully that's where you have some kind of other beefy guy protecting your carries or whatever. And even then, AD carries aren't the most valuable things anymore, so you can still win with the bruisers and the assassins or whatever. So Jarvan, up there because of his sheer versatility in item builds, his aura whoring potential, his initiation powers, and the crapload of CC he does. Oh yeah, and forget to mention, and we all know this, damage Jarvan is actually very strong now. So that's actually a very important thing, where damage Jarvan in Season 2 was remotely weak, mostly because his options kind of sucked from the jungle, and they weren't really as deadly as they are now. He can, if he's doing very well, go damage and just kind of one-shot most targets, and like that kind of serves its purpose too, similar to like V and Xin Zhao. But he gets to fully revel in that option, while Xin Zhao and V kind of die and don't do as much as him. Though Xin Zhao can get away with it in some circumstances. Taric, he is number 3, and he's quickly going to be nerfed, so this is just here just kind of to laugh at it. It's going to be nerfed, and I don't understand why he was buffed this much, like they didn't try to test it. He's pretty much up here for the whole same reason Dr. Mundo has been a high tier jungler for a while. He gets to triple dip his item values, or multi-dipped in some cases. What triple dipping is where one item pretty much benefits a lot of different factors of Taric. Like Frozen Heart, probably his most valuable item currently, gives him armor, which boosts his damage, his resistance, his aura, all that good stuff. Gives him cooldown reduction, which again bolsters his damage, his dueling capability thanks to his seal, his initiation or soft initiation, because that stun you're going to see it coming a mile away. His dueling ability, his team supporting, and his damage, all that good stuff. The mana, he boosts his damage as well, boosts his ability to spam his abilities, on the obvious note. And any other factors in that? No, that's pretty much it. But his big factors, that's what triple dipping is. Pretty much, the gold he spends is more valuable than the gold somebody else is spending. Well, actually, not that way. He's making best use. Fine. He's being very useful with it. He's being very efficient with it. And the few jungle gold he's actually getting is being pretty much... he can make do with the crappy amount of jungle gold. Fine, I think that's the best way to put it. He gets away with it, and like his most optimal build currently is one that a jungler would want to build, and he can build it, and it's a godlike, and it pretty much increases his team utility, his killing potential, his survivability, and all that good stuff. So he's pretty much stupid in that way, is that even if you kind of screw him in the jungle, he's still going to get that build. He's still going to get that crap, and he's a support that can murder people. And a very, very cheap one. That's kind of dumb. Next champion to talk about, well, I'll skip her for now. To say Lee Sin and Olaf. Their nerfs finally dimmed, but it's more that other junglers are kind of a lot more awesome right now, so they kind of moved down. So it's not a big deal that they're kind of going down there. The Blade of the Ruined King buff actually kind of helps out Lee Sin. Only slightly, giving him a cool offensive option, and it's actually pretty cool on him, especially, what's it called? I forgot, whatever it is, the component that counts as slow, that's kind of cool on him, giving him another form of CC, and good lifesteal, which is something he liked, and you wouldn't really build Wriggles on him anymore. Olaf is Olaf. It kind of sucks, but he still farms a shitstorm, man. He's essentially another form of Dr. Mundo. Nocturne and Shaco, just the nerfs actually really. I can feel it, and I don't play Shaco. Any Shaco I fought, they pretty much sucked and died. Their blink is so noticeable. I mean, you can always notice the blink, but the range on it usually allow them to get close to you and stab you in the back, or murder you. Like you didn't have too much time to react. The best Shacos would be able to just get up on you. But now, even some of the best Shacos are having issues. I talked to them afterwards too, and they're like, yeah, this is stupid. I can't do anything. Pretty much, but he lost a lot of his whole, bonus reaction time he had. He had a chance of opportunity or whatever. I don't know how to phrase it. Pretty much the enemy will react faster now. They have more time to. Volibear and Kayle, these are two are important to talk about too. Why? Because I know they're flavor of the month. Not as much Kayle, more Volibear. And I personally play Volibear and destroy people whenever I pick them. But there's an issue is that I haven't fought anybody else using Volibear except one guy, and he sucked. And I don't know if he was a flavor of the month person or if he was somebody who always played Jungle Volibear, but he sucked, and it made me sad. The thing is, I can't say if I'm doing well with Volibear because Volibear is so strong, or if because people just suck at fighting Volibear. That might be the case too in the pro scenes, but considering how much he was used and banned, I may have to reconsider this. For the time being, he's here in Tier 2, which again, Tier 2 is not bad. It's just I haven't fought a decent Volibear, and I can't say if me using Volibear has actually been, doing well with Volibear has actually been because he's really good, or because the enemy team just doesn't know what the fuck to do. Even some good players. It's like in the video that I probably have posted here, I don't know if I did, because this is being recorded before I actually post a tier list. You can see at one occasion where I charge at Jace, and he kind of pretty much just lets me. Then he hammers me, and I still drag him back, and he dies. It's like they didn't know that interaction was there, and they did a lot of questionable things versus me as Volibear that I feel if you knew what Volibear did, you wouldn't have. So it's kind of it's kind of giving me that kind of skepticism, yes. I'm pretty sure he's doing better because of the whole meta loving him, and the item builds are actually pretty good on him, and it's something that I didn't realize, so I'm admitting I was wrong on him on a lot of places. But I still need to fight a good Volibear, or I still need to fight opponents that completely trash me. Or if they really go out of the way to try to trash me and I resist them, then that's a very good sign. The thing is, I haven't done too much with him, even though I've wanted to. Kayle, same situation. Every Kayle I ever fight is complete shit, and it's just kind of giving me a bad view. They suck. I even fought somebody who advocated Kayle a lot, like, oh my god, Jungle Kayle's the best thing, and they sucked. So I don't know if it's that player or if it's the champion in the jungle. I know Kayle's really strong in the lane, and ultimately her ultimate can be infinitely valued, but that guy I fought who really advocated because Jungle Kayle sucked, and every other Kayle I find in jungle has sucked. They may do some damage, and late game they may get super farmed and then still kill somebody, but that's because they got the lane sit or the game went stupid and they got some kills. It isn't calling for the strengths of Jungle Kayle if you get to farm the damn lane, because at some point you stop becoming Jungle Kayle and you become just Kayle. Happens for a lot of junglers too. They just become the ex-champion when you've reached a point where you're laning more than you're jungling, or your farm is already obscene because of the circumstances of the game. With that said, I've used her. I've had some success, but I still find a lot of her things annoying, much like her ganking is just unreliable because line of sight's a bitch. And that Q, while strong, and follow with the E, is not actually my cup of tea when it comes to ganking. I'd rather full on engage and murder somebody. Alright, so back up there in the tier list, Xin Zhao and Nocturne. Nocturne, remember, tier 2 is essentially tier 1, except tier 1 is advocated by the guys who are just overwhelmingly good. Nocturne, his build options aren't exactly as clean as everybody else's. He's more limited, but he does well with them. He needs them. It's sort of like Xin Zhao, Jarvan, and them, they'll deal damage and do their jobs with minimal items. And they can do well with components. Nocturne feels like he really just needs to have complete items before he does anything. He kind of, in a way, that kind of gold screws him. Compared to the other junglers, like Jarvan can go with tier 2 items and do well. Nocturne kind of needs to have luxury items built quickly, and I felt that otherwise he's just kind of dies, and his team fights aren't all that great either compared to everybody else's, even Mundo's. So yeah, he's like I don't know how to say. He's a strong jungler, just not enough. Xin Zhao, Xin Zhao got nerfed, and I think he's still going to be shipped with more nerfs soon. Is they like Riot doesn't love? I mean, Riot loves to nerf anything that seems to be strong in every elo. With that said, I've already stated multiple amounts of times that Xin Zhao has weaknesses that are apparent to people. I mean, that are not apparent to people, even though they are playing the damn champion. But some higher level junglers and strong junglers agree that Xin Zhao's slow and he's not really the most resilient jungler out there. But players, especially in lower level, don't really pay attention to that because they just get murdered anyways, even by the most shittiest of ganks. Xin Zhao is a great ganker, and he's a great duelist, and he's a great team fighter. But he's not exactly the most safe jungler. I mean, his sustain is alright, and then it gets slightly better, but like he's kind of higher risk if people didn't realize it. Just a lot of players don't know how to fucking take advantage of that, so they kind of exaggerate his abilities. He got nerfed, thus actually making him a bit worse. But whatever, he's high up there because his team fight capability, his ultimate has actually brings utility, and his item build is pretty minimalistic. Again, that's a very valuable thing now, right? And now one jungler people really. Oh yeah, before I go into this guy, Nasus. I mean, before I go into Nasus, Quinn sucks. That's why she's not even here, though. I'm pretty sure nobody really had hopes for her to jungle. I mean, I kind of did, because I would be fine. I have an AD jungler. So, Nasus. Nasus, he's somebody I've been refusing to put in the tier list, but now people have been messaging me constantly, and I'm pretty sure they'd be mad if I didn't, because he's been reused recently. The thing is, as a jungler, he doesn't make all that much sense. I mean, how to put this? He's got some great aspects if he wanted to, but he ends up hurting himself if he abuses any of them. Again, he has to farm his Q, and it's kind of a mandatory thing to farm his damn fucking Q. His item builds are not too varied. They're kind of like all the bruiser builds, but they're expensive. He's a very expensive jungler. So that's kind of sucks for him. He can farm again, but he has to slow himself down in order to do so. And his invasion also kind of screws him over. His entire gameplay revolves around having a farmed Q. And like I keep repeating myself on it, it's having to farm his Q is detrimental to a lot of the things he actually wants to do. And he doesn't really have a clear-cut level up ranking thing here. If he ranks up his Q, he gets to farm it faster and gets to almost nullify that whole I have to slow my jungler down, or I have to do these dumb decisions in order to get this thing farmed, because cooldown reduction on it. But now he's sacrificing probably one of his other abilities. Wither. Wither's very strong. It's not strong early on with the ranks, but if he gets to a higher rank, he pretty much cripples people and he can gank somebody really easily. And it's amazing in team fights. But again, sacrificing another ability. He levels up his E. It's pretty good in team fights too, but when it comes to jungling, it demolishes camps, which again can be bad because you want to farm your Q, but if you don't level that up, your speed will be noticeably slower. So it's one of those conundrums of Nasus. It's like, what skill do you sacrifice, thus sacrificing an aspect of your jungling. Your Q, in my opinion, is probably the more important one to level up, simply because it nullifies that whole aspect of him where he has to sit down and farm it, or at least helps it out. If you have a lower cooldown Q, you can at least get 2 to 3 per camp, and that actually makes Nasus reasonable in the jungle. However, he won't get it farmed early, like with that said, because he's not going to have any ranks in his abilities. And then I rank up W next because I want to murder people. I don't want to just sit and farm. Which, again, if you sit and farm the jungle all day, your laners get crushed and you need to have presence. So I sacrifice his E, thus sacrificing his speed and some form of his team fighting potential. And yeah, that's his conundrum. That's why I wanted to delay rating him, because you have to take that into consideration which which Nasus quote unquote build do you take into consideration? The one that likes his E and burns everything, or the one that takes his Q and does what Nasus is supposed to do? So I just decided to fuck the other build and take the Q one, and that's how I graded him. So his speed suffers, his invasion suffers, and whatever. But he's still relatively useful because his wither is very strong. But I would still say he requires a team built around him, or at least a team that supports him, because he gets kited in both mid game and late game. The guy gets just kited beyond all reason, and it's kind of annoying. You know, in the video I probably posted, I couldn't do shit in certain situations. I got kited so hard, even with flash and wither twice. I withered probably twice in the chases, and I still couldn't catch up to people. I mean, his ultimate is great, and he decimates people, but he has to actually get to them. Regardless of how farmed he is or how big his Q is, he'll still get kited. And that's an issue. So I gotta have a team to help you out. So that's why he's in tier 3. He's good, but he's got certain weaknesses that need to be taken care of. Else, he can be useful. And for a jungler to have a really strong late game without having to spend so much gold, that's actually a very good thing. So that's kind of why teams are picking him up. Nasus fought after 40 minutes, regardless if he laned or jungled, if he properly farmed his Q, he'll become a force to be reckoned with. So there you have it. It's the more important ones that you have to know here are Taric, just being stupid. He's going to be nerfed. Nasus, because he's being picked up steam. Volibear, and Jarvan. The rest are just kind of by nature of nerfs and other people annoying everything. That was the big, more noticeable ones. I'll add Zero later, and I'll probably be adding Poppy Wukong too. Maybe in second iteration, or I may just edit this and whatever. Still, enjoy this, and I hope my new mic has been really good on your ears.